I'm so excited to be here to introduce my project, and I feel so nervous and hopeful. And my Chinese name is Summer Shan, and I was born in Tianjin, China, an old city with 1600 years of history. There is a combination of Chinese and Western architecture and a cultural style where tradition and modernity are both present. So my hometown, you will see the Western church and the modern building. The modern building and the old Chinese city building. And when I was young, I was taken care of by my grandmother, and she often shared fascinating story, make me small object with her own hand, and took me to second-hand market to explore old things. So in this environment, I grew up with a love of picking up a paintbrush, and I drawing picture from my grandmother's story. So with those influence, yeah, that is my paintbrush. Yeah, with this influence, I wanted to explore the big world. So finally, in 2017, I came to New Zealand to do my foundation study. And due to my love for art and design, I chose visual communication design for my undergraduate degree. And during my undergraduate year, there were very few Chinese people around. So I was a feel to communicate with others and often feel lonely and isolated. During this time, I began write poetry from my heart and create meaning from those texts and my design in this foreign country. And for my final project is this one. I create a personal archive and called Forgotten. I have explored the belonging problem. And this personal archive constitutes of 2 publications and a poster. And I use visual poetry and digital color technique to create an image. And in this photo, we can see the text itself become pattern and shaped on the pages, and transforming the poem into tangible visual image that audience can see. And I have also explored the sensory as an internal and haptic state, and enjoy the poetic of texture, the weight of light on piece of paper, or the elegance of blending. So after this project, I still feel like I want to explore more questions about Chinese international students' experience, because I noted in recent years, more and more Chinese people, they choose to study abroad, and they will face the same challenges and difficulties as me, such like the cultural distance or language barriers, or we can't feel the connection, support, and belonging. And I also have a homesickness due to being away from home, and I have a high expectation from my parents. So I really anxiety with the failure. So those things will lead to unhealthy psychological problem. So based on this, I start my master project. And I remember time back home, the fragment of memory of explored old things with my grandmother. I would follow her to second-hand market, where there were all kinds of old objects and each with a story and mystery. Whenever I touch them surface, and I can imagine and feel the different emotion, and I know the different old object they hiding the secret. So it was from those things that I begin to develop an interest in nostalgia and sensory. And when I see this movie poster, and it was shocked by its aesthetic power, and transport me into a world. And I think it is from that time I really fall in love with the feeling of the old movie. And I would suspend disbelief for a moment in this visual language. And all these kind of things inspired my master project. And I start to ask about space between real and imagined, between fiction and design. Use the poetic and empathy myself into design that express my isolation and hopelessness. So here's my research question. if a sensory designer draw historical literary convention of the exile, and in Chinese it's 羁旅, how may she create a fictional portmanteau to speak to the experience of loss and disorientation experienced by a Chinese student studying overseas? And follow this research question, I have 3 contextual knowledge. And the first one is exile, but in Chinese we call 羁旅, and the 羁, which means the bandage, and the 旅 means travel or traveling. So in this project, exile may means traveling to or living in a foreign country for an extended period of time. And the next one is poetic inquiry. And in this project, poetic was to emphasize the value of personal expression. And the poetic inquiry helped me to express emotion I cannot exactly talk about. And the last one is sensory design. Sensory design brings more information to work. When designers treat touch, hearing, taste, smell as a contributing consideration, those things may active memory and emotion and increasing the depth of communication. And now I will introduce a methodology. In this project, I use a practice-led research as a methodology to develop artifacts through iterative experimentation and reflection. And in researching the question, I draw my personal experience. By combining the creative writing and the visual communication design, I have artistically considered the nature of the exile. At the heart of my project is an old portmanteau. Portmanteau means a travel suitcase. And this artifact has accompanied a fictional student in exile called Zhang Xiazheng. And she navigated to study in an allegorical country called New Cloud Land. And this artifact constitutes a form of fictional social portrait that expresses the inner voice of an experience of exile. And here's my message. I use a lot of different methods. Our first one is creative writing. At the start of the project, creative writing helped to create a world of a fictional student, Jiang Xiazheng, and it shaped my fictional character, organized the event around her exile, and inspired the design of the artifact as part of my fictional portrait. And in this way, it allowed me to map the emotion onto the object and continue refine Jiang Xiazheng's story by adding, modify, or removing elements from narrative. And second is close reading. In literary analysis, close reading refers to careful and continual unpacking of brief passaging of text. It's focusing on the specific content rather than general one. But in my project, I extend this term to study of print objects, such as the passport, visa, and the label, which are closely read in terms of their design or material. And in this image, it shows when I designed the fictional passport. I compare and analyze passport from China, Macau, and New Zealand. After I closely read type, language, texture, iconographic, and stock, and some very small technique, they allow me to create artifacts that not only appear real, but also shows the emotion connection to the fictional world that the character had left. And in this image, it shows the passport's information page and the inner pages. And I use blue as the main color. It shows the connection between the fictional character and water, but emotionally, the blue also can express Jiang Xiazheng's loneliness when she is in a foreign country. And this image shows some security detail in the passport, like a very tiny typeface, and the transition of color, engraving, texture, and line. And so in designing those fictional artifacts, I use close reading to create a more realistic artifact. Because of my concern with tactile, so close reading also extend to analysis of material, paper, fatigue, and so this also related to other methods called tactile experimentation. So when I design those artifacts, I try to make them fit, and it is related to tactile, haptic, smell, and visual sensation. And the important point is I keeping an aging system. So it speaks to time and use, and also bring a sense of nostalgia. So when I design those stamp and the old label, I create this old feel by coloring my design with tea and coffee. And this image shows the visa. Because in my project, even a simple document also can stimulate stronger emotion. So a crumpled visa on the left may suggest depression or anger, but on the right one maybe suggests more emotionally stable personality. And I also test with old, soft, and damaged texture to convince nostalgia and loss. For example, in this image, we can notice the passport on the left has obvious signs of use, but the right one looks new. Therefore, the different surface presentation can give the audience a different feeling. So tactile experimentation allows those artifacts to be directly experienced. And now is prototyping. Prototyping is an iterative technique commonly used by designers to achieve meaningful results. And in this study, it was applied to test the feasibility and authenticity of fictional artifacts on a physical level. And this photo it shows my process of developing with the artifact. Therefore, I use prototyping to design, refine my artifact. For example, in this image, in my first design of the DVD, I use plastic packaging, and even I polished the surface, but the item is still not match to my overall style. So I redesigned DVD cover as the cardboard packaging, and the design is more mild to touch, and the texture of the paper emphasizes the nostalgia. So prototyping helped me to test whether the artifact can work or not work on the physical level. And the final one is Duncon. And when I'm working with my idea, I use this method. And Duncon actually is from German, but is translated to English is a thinking space. So in my study, it constitutes a digital blog used to record and store my inspiration, mood board, and feedback. And this image is from my Duncon. It's showing the development of thinking and idea and artifact made related to Jiang Xiazheng's childhood. And as the thinking space, the Duncon helped me repeatedly to review and reflection my idea. So in summary, the portmanteau contains Jiang Xiazheng's personal belonging and has two layers. Those fictional artifacts constitute a fictional character we encounter through the print medium and the correspondent artifact. And it's my final outcome. And it also contains passport, postcard, and some paperwork, travel journal, DVD design, old label, stamp, board game, recipe, a workbook, ticket, and money design. I designed two different money from different countries. So the first one actually is from Jiang Xiazheng's homeland, and I use yellowish color and the content textural paper to design this kind of money. So it can indicating the age of the banknotes. And the blue one is from nuclear land, and I use plastic paper. So it's very similar like New Zealand or Australia's banknotes. And I also design a poetic publication. This publication, which she submitted in her final year, showing her poetic representation of her exile, and it also is a symbol of her end of her exile. And the book contains 5 poems divided into 5 sections. and each poem appeared on a separate card. One side is Chinese version, and the other is English translation. And the book employed the concertina bending that providing a hidden space for those poems and the linear order for photo. Therefore, in this part, I use poetry to show the sense of loss. And it also contains some medicine and ink packaging design. So old artifacts can be unpacked, even though they have been placed in a suitcase. But some other objects can be found in envelope, pocket, or from other artifacts. You can open them up to see what each object contains inside, and you can touch, smell, and feel the emotion within. So if you open the medicine packaging, you can smell it, and the smell of this unique Chinese medicine helps to suggest a positioning on the student's fictional homeland. If you pick up this one, you can touch the surface, you can feel something is peeling off, and you will know something is inside this box. And you can feel this item had a generation of use. So finally, this image from my master exhibition. In support of the artifact, I also write a small storybook which tells us the story of Jiang Xiazheng's childhood and exile, which shows on the shop. And in conclusion, the artifact in Jiang Xiazheng's suitcase expresses her anxiety, nostalgia, and loneliness. Through collecting those items, they show Jiang Xiazheng try to heal herself in the spiritual world and highlighting the important need for herself to show her emotion. So for the next step, I will work for a while and maybe to do my PhD. And thank you.